You know what? I'm not like a 2K guy. Um, I'm more of an NBA Live fan. Um, Honestly, usually don't play much sports, if at all, on the PlayStation because that's what I have. I have a PlayStation. Um, I've just kind of I'm not a sports gamer anymore. I used to be back in the day hardcore. Um, but you know what? And I didn't do a video like this last year, but this I think this is egregious enough. This warrants my expert opinion. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and say right now, this is probably gonna be one of my more fun videos. Pull up the popcorn, relax. We're gonna talk shit. Okay, only gonna talk about the starters. I'll probably do another video about the rest of the team and stuff. At least the next 10 players. After that, I kind of don't give a fuck. Um, but let's 2K. What nigga? Like, look, if you don't know by now, we gonna talk about these 2K ratings of the Chicago Bulls starters. Let me just say, they got this entire thing fucked up. They got this entire thing fucked up. Okay, it don't make sense. I'm not privy to every single rating of every player in the game, nor do I give a fuck. But there's the way they do it don't make much sense to me. So let's get into this, right? I'm gonna start this off by giving you how I would rate or look at the rating system in 2K or any video game for like sports game for basketball. So peep this. Obviously, you can't go to 100. So 94 to 99 to me is Hall of Fame, championship level, God tier MVP level candidates. You should know right now there's only 5 players that should have a 94 and above. Steph, KD, Kawhi, LeBron, and Giannis. That's it. Nobody else should be sniffing that rating or above. I got no issue with that. Moving on. 90 to 93 is all-star level starter to MVP level candidate. Really, we'll just call this the MVP candidate scale. If you're from 90 to 93, that means you're right there touching with the 5 best players in the league, but you're not quite there for whatever reason. That's your James Hardens, that's your Anthony Davises, that's your Luka Doncic's, your Joel Embiid's, your Dame Lillard's, those guys. Okay? All of them are like starter levels, in the All-Star game. Okay? Joker, that's the kind of player that is, okay? Can we all agree with that? I think that makes perfect sense, right? Now, 86 to 89 is all-star level. These are your all-stars. Don't necessarily mean they're starters, but these are like, okay, you look at that guy, he's all-star level. Even if he doesn't necessarily get into the all-star game because it's a limited amount of spots, doesn't mean that player is not an all-star. So this is all the guys who are in the game who are all-star level. Where, when you look at it, you're like, that's an all-star. Okay? Next is a breakpoint rating. 85 is fringe all-star. Fringe all-star is guys who, to me, are not quite all-stars, but they're right freaking there. Like, they're touching. Like, you can almost not tell a difference. To me, it'd be like Drew Holiday would be one of these guys, where he's like, he is an all-star-ish level guy, but not quite. 85 is the benchmark for that break point, okay? Let's keep moving. Now, 80 to 84. 80 is a different benchmark. I'm going to save that for last here. 81 to 83 is your solid or above average NBA starters. Okay. Guys like Lonzo Ball would fall into this. Guys like let's see. I'm trying to think of some teams with some guys, some role players. Duncan Robinson. Um, other teams. Jared Jackson Jr. of Memphis. Um, Valanciunas, those kind of guys. Okay, those are your like starter guys who are really good. You know, like they're starters, and then these guys are clearly above starter level. Like any team they go to, they're going to start on. Now, 80 is a break mark because at the worst place, this is like a starter. It's just like pure, like this. These guys are just like they're a starter, maybe on their team, maybe on other teams, they might come off the bench. But this is like fringe level. Like once you hit this point, you're a starter. You're probably the lower or as low as the starter level you can go. Maybe the best way to word it is it's a guy that depending on the team he's going to start, but he's probably like a six-man candidate too. Like a guy who is good enough to start, but is also good enough to be the first guy off the bench. You see what I'm saying? It's like a break point between being a certified role player and, you know, yada, yada, yada. Basically, that's what this is. 80 determines if you're a role player or not. Role players, and you might say, well, every team has role players even in the starting lineup. That's fine. But even the starters, like starting level role players, are different than bench level role players. You see what I'm saying? 80 is that break point. So you got 85 is the break point into all-star, and then 80 is the break point from role player to like good or NBA starting caliber guy role player. Anything below that, like from 75 to 79 to me, is you guys off the bench probably, you know, 6th or 7th, maybe to like 8th or 9th. Maybe 10th on some teams. And then anything like 75 and below is pretty much guys that are like G Leaguers or something. Guys you don't expect to play unless a guy or two ahead of them is injured. That would be like your Billy Hernangomez's from New Orleans last year, something like that. So that's my scale. And I know it took a minute to like get that out. But I think that's important so that you guys understand where I'm going to go with this as we start talking about the ratings. Because now you can think about it, be like, okay, and I hope you wrote it down. If not, go write it down. And that way you can kind of follow along as I get into this, okay? First of all, let me say this. They fucked up all the Bull starters. They fucked up all the Bull starters. And I know there might be some tinkering within a point or so, but you got to think about it. In these games, like to shift a point, several stats have to increase or decrease. You know what I'm saying? So 1 point can almost to some degree be like a tier jump in certain rankings. So with that being said, let's talk about Zach Levine. He is the highest rated Bull. He's at 87. Egregious. Fucking egregious. Is he in the right tier? Yes. That tier of 86 to 89. He's in the right tier. But he has the wrong number. He should be 89. Let me tell you why. Zach Levine's offensive ability is MVP level. So he should be right there touching like the 90 tier. His defense holds him back. Which is why if he plays defense this year and can give you the same productivity he gave you last year, he jumps to the next tier. He's 90 and above. He's an MVP level candidate. He easily should have been 89. 87 is a little too low to me. 87 is probably more of a guy like a Deandre Ayton, Bam Adebayo maybe kind of guy. And I think there's a difference. I think Zach Levine is clearly better. So for me, he should have been an 89. Vooch is an 85. Him and Derozan. First of all, Vooch was just an all-star the previous year. And it's hard for me to argue he's not top 3 offensive big man, period, in the NBA. From just what he can do. He should have been an 88. If you want to argue and say he's an 89, I wouldn't disagree necessarily. It's just I think even if he gave you solid defense, I think there's still something else you would want from him. And so I think 88 fits that more accurately. And with Zach being the leader of the team, it makes sense for Zach to be the highest rated on the team. Which 89 and 88 ain't bad. Still all-stars. Still very good. But 85? Again, 85 is like a fringe all-star to me. He's not a fringe all-star. He's an all-star level player, period. So there needs to be some kind of separation to show that. I know they had Deandre Ayton ranked 86. He's a point over him. I know Ayton had a very good season on both ends and in the playoffs, so they probably gave him credit for that. But Deandre Ayton wasn't an all-star last year, and Vooch was. How is he rated higher? So, Vooch to me should at least be at 88. If you're going to leave Ayton at an 86, that's fine. I think Ayton is an all-star level player, but only at the lowest level of all-star level player ranking, which would make sense. I think that's fair. I don't think too many people in the league would disagree with that. Now, maybe by the end of the season, that changes. Derozan is an 85. I would put him at 87, but if you wanted to put him at 86, I wouldn't disagree. I wouldn't fight you on that. I think because he hasn't been an all-star, it hurts him, and I think that's 86, 87 is where that should be. But he is all-star level. Nobody. If he goes to a team, he's a second option, depending on the team, maybe a first option, but most of the times he's probably going to be a second option and a very good one, a career 20-point per game scorers option. He is that level, okay? Since he didn't get All-Star last year, I don't want to put him in the upper 80s as far as this ranking is concerned. 86 is fair. 87 is fair. I think he'll be the second or third best player on this team. But I don't know if his impact will be greater than Vooch, which is why I would have Vooch a point higher than him. Plus, Vooch became an all-star. But DeRozan is the leader of the team, the best player. Clearly 2 points more. I think that makes sense. And he's on the fringe of being, a superstar or a MVP level candidate. Lonzo Ball, 82. I would not give Lonzo an 85. He is not a fringe all-star to me yet. I think 83 is probably the correct rating. If we're going to factor in possibility of improvement in different role, I think 84 is a good one too. But he's not better than an 84. 83 seems about right. 82 seems a tad bit off. And I was listening to some videos of some of the guys they had above him. Kemba Walker, Derrick Rose, Colin Sexton. Okay, he scores more. I get it. But utility, Zoe provides more than all those guys. period. So to me, yes, he's in that starter ranking, and he's in the upper level of it, which is great, which is fine. 83, I think, would have been perfect. 84, if you want to say potential and jump this year, I have no problem with that. He could be 85 by the time the season ends, or he could be looking at upper 80s. Who knows? But for right now, that one I have the least amount of problem with, but he was off by about a point. Okay? That's just my opinion. This one, because now we're on the last of the starters. This one pissed me off when I saw it. Pissed me the entire fuck off. So, frame of reference, Kobe White is the next highest player ranked on this list, and I think he's 78. I am okay, and I know I'm mentioning Kobe, but this is about to be about Pat Will. I am okay with Kobe having a higher rating than Pat Will because he's more experienced. He gave you more points. He gave you more offensive productivity, and I think that is rated higher in most of these games. It's rated higher in the league. So if you wanted to say Kobe White would say an 80 or maybe an 81, I wouldn't have an issue with that. If you were going to put Pat Will maybe a point or so lower. So if you said he was 80 and say Pat Will 79, great. If you're going to say Kobe White's 81 and put Pat Will at 80, great. But Pat Will a 75. What? Pat Will ain't no fucking 75. He is not no goddamn 75. At all. What the fuck are you looking at? You got Caruso ahead of him. Pat Will is better. I'm not even sure. I'm pretty sure if I look, Danny Green is above him. There's a couple other deep 3 and D role players. Fuck that. He is 80 at worst. He is a starter. And depending on the team, he would probably be the first guy off the bench. Which is why I gave you guys, he is an 80 to me. Kobe White should be an 81. Pat should be 80. Nobody in this Bulls start lineup should be below 7, 80, period. Period. And y'all have listened to my videos, y'all have listened to my content. Y'all know how I feel about Pat Will. Listen to me. This man ain't no fucking 75, bro. And you got guys like Alize Johnson and DJJ and a couple others who are 74. What the fuck? What point? Nick, what? What? There's a clear gap between Pat Will and everybody else that's below him on the Bulls. A clear gap. To me, it's Caruso, gap, Pat Will, slight gap, Kobe White. Gap, Zoe, gap, Derozan, slight gap, Vooch, slight gap, Zach. Pat Will ain't no fucking 75, bro. 75 for real? Where? I'm not saying Pat Will is Brandon Ingram. I'm not saying he's Lonzo Ball. I'm not saying he's Kawhi Leonard. I'm not saying he's fucking Zion Williamson, Ja Morant, Trey Young, Collins, Luca, KP, fucking. I'm not saying he's Russell Westbrook, Kawhi. I'm not saying none of that shit. AD. I'm not saying none of that shit. Kyle Lowry, Jimmy Butler. I'm not saying none of that shit. But 75, nigga? $75, he might as well not be on the court. For what, son? Like, he literally was guarding LeBron, KD, and Kawhi pretty well. That alone don't make him a 75. At minimum, he should be a 78. Right there, probably with like, and Caruso is low, a little low for my liking too. But Caruso should probably be like a 78. But defense alone, he should be right there like a 78. We start talking about the 40% from three. Granted, not a lot of attempts. That should be at least 79. You want to talk about rebounding possibility and passing maybe, or athletic ability. I think that's fair at 80. I think that's fair at 80. But you're saying there's a massive gap between him and most starter level players. I got an issue with that, my nigga. Like, no. I hate these rating systems just seem to be like, let's push some buttons and see what looks right. It don't make any sense. Vooch probably had a higher rating last year, but now he's like points below. Russ is an 85. Russell Westbrook is an 85. Look, I don't like Russ. That is so disrespectful. That man is not an 85. He is clearly a 90. A 90, 89 at absolute worst, but he is a 90. Disrespectful to have that man at 85. So you're saying he's on the same level as Vooch and DeMar DeRozan that you have in this game when Russ was just an all-star. Just took his team to the playoffs too. 85? Yes, and that means you got Deandre Ayton above him, nigga. Think about this. Deandre Ayton is oh man, they got me defending Russell Westbrook, bro. They got me defending. Look, man, Pat will. You know what? Let me take a sip. You know what? That's pretty good, by the way. I won't put too much of the shit on it, but pretty fucking good. Pretty fucking good. It don't take the edge off though for this bullshit, but Pat, like, bruh, 70 fucking 5, nigga. That's 3/4. That nigga is better than 3/4. That nigga's at least worth 3/4 and a half. Like that, nigga. That no. And by 3/4 and a half, I don't mean like actual 3/4 and a half. That'd be like an 89 rating. No. Like 2K. Look, I'm a gamer. I do this shit. Do I have my controller? Can I reach it? There we go. Okay. I play PlayStation. I do this shit. I'm a gamer. As soon as I get finished with this, I'm about to go play Yu-Gi-Oh! On my Nintendo Switch. Okay? I'll probably get on this motherfucker later and play Tekken and Marvel vs. Capcom. Marvel vs. Capcom is my favorite game, by the way. Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Just FYI for those of you guys that are gamers or play games. I also like to play Overwatch 2. I do this shit. Okay? Grew up playing video games. go on to arcades where you have to put in a quarter. I'm dating myself a little bit here. You have to go wait in line, go, put your money in, get your quarters, wait in line, and sit there and surround the arcade cabinet while guys are sitting there sweating and niggas is in the background talking shit, hyping shit up, inside the malls and stuff. Like, I grew up playing video games. It is my passion. It is my pastime. It is also my stress reliever. I do this shit. My son does this shit now too. Look, y'all need to hire a nigga like me. I'm going to get your 2K system, right? I will make sure that the ratings are right. Y'all need to let me do this shit. Because y'all know what the fuck y'all doing, bro. If I don't know who they have as the highest rated person in the game, but I'm going to be real with you. Steph should be 94. LeBron should be 95 along with Kawhi. And the best player in the game should be a tie between KD and Giannis. And I would probably put them both at like 97 or 98. And I think that's fair. Steph couldn't get his team in the playoffs. Kawhi and LeBron both did. The only exception is LeBron had been injured and was playing injured the entire time and missed a lot of games. Kawhi was a little bit less injured, but he got injured in the postseason, but he still won them that first series and had them on the path in the second, which is why they won the second eventually. KD and Giannis are the two best players. Giannis is the champion. I think he rightfully deserves the crown to be the highest rated player in the game. KD was within literally a part of his foot of being, into the conference finals and eventually champion. Okay? They're the two best players in the game. Now, is that how I think they rank in real life? No. My ranking in real life would go KD, LeBron, Kawhi, Steph, and then Giannis. That would be how I would rank them. But in the game, based on how things are, it's a different system. You have to think about it differently. KD and Giannis are supposed to be the highest rated game. But look, and I know I'm going off track. Look, man. Y'all fucked this shit up. Y'all supposed to make a very good video game. Y'all fucking this shit up, man. That's why I play 2K. But Live don't make video games like that. They made two. Stop said they're going to wait till the PS5. I ain't heard shit from them since. I need an NBA Live game, okay? I need another NBA Hoops. NBA Street Hoops. Volume 2. Put that shit on the PlayStation Network so I can bust y'all asses in that shit. But this is bullshit. Pat Will not supposed to be a 75. Y'all have a good day, man. Peace.